So just a little bit of background information on the Affordable Homes Act, which has been the reason why we are proposing 4 of these amendments. So the Affordable Homes Act was signed into law by Governor Maura Healey on August 6, 2024. Sections 7, 8, and 10 of that law amend the Zoning Act, creating new statewide definitions, establishing uniform rules governing the creation of accessory dwelling units, and preserving the buildable status of certain lots owned in common by exempting them from the doctrine of merger. The effective date of Sections 7 and 10 was August 6, 2024. The effective date of Section 8 was February 2nd, 2025. And the reason why I mention that is because we have certain zoning bylaws that are in direct conflict with the new law. So what we are interested in doing is amending those zoning bylaws so that they are in line with the new state law. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you about the new accessory dwelling unit requirements. The purpose of this is to encourage the production of accessory dwelling units throughout the Commonwealth with the goal of increasing the production of housing. So I'm sure many of you have heard of the housing crisis that has been impacting Massachusetts. And the primary reason for that is that the supply of housing in Massachusetts does not satisfy the demand. So what the state is trying to do is to require towns to build more housing. The first article pertains to amending the definition of dwelling. It's now going to be referenced as a dwelling unit. So the purpose here is to comply with the state's definitions. So as it pertains to accessory dwelling units, they can be detached, attached, or internal to a single-family home, a duplex, or a multifamily dwelling. These are known as principal dwellings. So this is a big departure from our current accessory dwelling unit bylaw, which says that you can only have an accessory dwelling associated with a single-family home. There is only one ADU that will be allowed on a lot. Detached ADUs will be subject to minor site plan review by the Development Review Team, which is an informal group that consists of the building inspector, the planning director, the assistant DPW director, the fire chief, and other relevant town staffs as appropriate. For example, we may be pulling in the health agent if a ADU is proposed to be on a septic system, or the conservation agent if an ADU is proposed to be on a lot with wetlands or a river or stream. The new bylaw would eliminate the requirement that the property owner must live in either the principal dwelling or the ADU. It also modifies the size of an ADU. So it would increase the size from 800 square feet gross to 900 square feet gross, or half the gross floor area of the single-family home or principal dwelling, whichever is smaller. It specifies that detached ADUs shouldn't be taller than the principal dwelling. They should be located to the rear or side of the principal dwelling to the maximum extent feasible, and they shall be set back 10 feet from other buildings on the lot for fire safety purposes. Lastly, it specifies that the ADU shall not be owned separate from the principal dwelling unit with which the ADU is associated. So in other words, you can't condoize the ADU and sell it away from what typically is a single-family home. The next article has to do with the establishment of a lot shape factor. As you can see in this plan, Northborough is kind of famous for its funky shaped lots. And one of the negative consequences of these shaped lots is that it's really difficult for property owners to discern where they own land. It also is difficult for them to cite swing sets and gardens and accessory structures like sheds because of how odd the lots are shaped. So this bylaw would put in place a mathematical formula which would discourage the creation of irregularly shaped lots. So the formula would evaluate the compactness and degree of regularity of each proposed lot. So what that means is that this mathematical formula is such that it would encourage the creation of lots that are square or rectangular in shape. So that way the lots would be more valuable and they'd also be more usable. It is important to note that this bylaw does provide some exceptions for very large lots and also for what are known as pork chop lots. The next article has to do with the land clearing and grading bylaw. Today, the town has two bylaws that pertain to the same activities. The land clearing and grading bylaw is issued by the planning board via a special permitting process, and the stormwater management and land disturbance permit is issued by the Conservation Commission. And unfortunately, there's a lot of redundancy with these permitting processes. The land disturbance bylaw was adopted in 2021. It's much more restrictive and comprehensive than the land clearing bylaw. And because they pretty much have jurisdiction over the same activities, it really becomes super costly, time-consuming, redundant, and unnecessary for an applicant. So this proposal would exempt any uses that are required to obtain a stormwater management and land disturbance permit. This clarifying language is consistent with the long-standing staff interpretation of the bylaw jurisdiction. So as I mentioned, this is a housekeeping item. The next bylaw proposes amendments to the sign bylaw. It permits a greater variety of sign types than are allowed today, including awning, projecting signs, and sandwich board signs. It provides new and updated definitions for a variety of sign types. It provides a mechanism for the Design Review Committee to review wall, projecting, awning, and freestanding signs in the downtown business district only. The next bylaw is the final zoning-related warrant article. It pertains to the adoption of a new bylaw called Inclusion of Affordable Housing. The purpose of this new bylaw would be to encourage the development of housing that is affordable to low and moderate income households. It would provide housing options for Northborough residents, people who work in Northborough, and veterans, and it would result in units that could be added to the Northborough subsidized housing inventory. Earlier, when I was talking about the affordable housing project that's proposed on Housing Authority land, I had mentioned that the town is just above the required 10% affordable housing, and that percentage is decreasing at a steady clip as the town constructs more market rate housing but doesn't construct affordable housing at the same pace. So this is a response to that issue. So it would require the creation of affordable housing as part of housing developments. So this new permit, the inclusionary housing permit, would be required for any project resulting in a net increase of 10 dwelling units or more. It doesn't matter if they are created through alteration, expansion, reconstruction, or change of an existing residential or non-residential space. It would also apply to any division of land that would result in the development of 10 or more dwelling units. And lastly, it would impact the development of an assisted living facility containing 10 or more units. So the bylaw would require that at least 15% of the total number of units in a development shall be affordable dwelling units. And they can be provided either on-site or off-site. There is a density bonus option that is included within the bylaw because, of course, affordable units are sold at a cheaper rate than market rate units. So in order to make it financially feasible for a developer to construct these units, we have included a density bonus within there. A little bit more information about the density bonus is that the permit granting authority may allow up to 20% of the total number of dwelling units within a development to be residential uses not otherwise permitted within the zoning district. So what this means, if you look at the table, you can see the various residential zoning districts along the top, so RA, RB, RC, GR, etc. And then you can see the variety of uses, residential uses, in the left-hand column. So a single-family dwelling detached, cottage dwelling, single-family dwelling attached, or a townhouse, two families, and multifamilies. So what you can see is that the underlined uses, BA means that they are permitted by the Board of Appeals, PB means that they are permitted by the Planning Board. So you can see that there is a greater variety in the types of housing that can be built in the district. So the permit granting authority may also allow the number of market rate dwelling units to be increased by the required number of affordable dwelling units. For example, if you have a housing development that requires 2 affordable units, the inclusionary housing bylaw would allow the developer to have 2 additional market rate units to offset the costs of the affordable dwelling units. In order to fit those additional market rate units into the development, the permit granting authority would also have the ability to vary the density and dimensional requirements specified in our use and dimensional table to accommodate those units on site.